Ladies and gentlemen, it is May. It's going to be May. It's finally May. And this year is buzzing by. And we just had the NFL draft. And what better time? It's every headline that comes out of college football right now, it's upsetting, it's negative. Why don't we have a little bit of fun with it? So I'm joined by one semi-regular guest and one brand new guest, Casey Hamrick. First of all, how are you doing? Our Buckeye, local Buckeye affiliate. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. It's definitely off season when we come to do a video like this. We're looking for ways to talk about college football. The NFL draft definitely was a little bit of taste back into the football world. You know, my Reds suck. They can't hit the baseball to save their life. It's a brutal watch. Blue Jackets missed the playoffs by about a point. It's time for golf, I guess, to get me all the way to football, but basically it's time for football. So I'm ready to roll.
Could be worse. You could be the Colorado Rockies. They are tracking to win, I believe 32 games this year. Right now, they're sitting at 5-30 or 5-25. They're bad. They're next level bad.
That's tough.
And then we are joined by our guy Jack Bulldog Boudreaux, new to the show. So Jack, I guess almost like first day of school. Give us background, hometown, favorite Bulldog memory, and favorite Bulldog player, and favorite game you've been to. I know I just threw a lot at you.
Threw a lot at me. So, fun fact, I was born actually in Athens, Georgia. My dad carried me across the stage when he graduated law school. I was 14 days old. So, to this day, I hold myself as the youngest law school graduate of all time because the diploma was put in my hand. Grew up in Augusta, Georgia. Horrible at golf, so don't ask for tickets. I can't get them myself either. Went to UGA, had the best time of my life. I was basically born to go to UGA. Oh, God. Favorite memory. There's two of them that come to mind off the top of my head that are non-national championship related. One would be 2002, Georgia breaking the curse, finally winning the SEC championship against Arkansas. That game was electric. I was eight years old, and it was just the coolest experience being out there and learning what a lot of football words were, and that will never tell them to my mom ever again. And then the second one was Georgia LSU, Zach Mettenberger coming back into Athens after he got kicked off the UJ's football team. That was my sophomore year of college, and half my family went to LSU, so fun rivalry, especially with the last name. So that was my top favorite player. Jordan Davis. That man between Jordan Davis and Nick Chubb, just two amazing players. Just you know, head to the grindstone, kept quiet, did their work, and just absolutely just killed it on the team.
Awesome. Well, welcome you two. Why are we inviting a Bulldog? Why are we inviting a Buckeye? Why did I forget what they were called? Why are we inviting a Bulldog and a Buckeye to the podcast?
Because we need a winning culture on the pod every now and then.
So
fair success.
Fair slight there. So here's what we're gonna do. With the college football realignment going on right now, we have brought in an SEC and a Big Ten representative. What they are going to be tasked to do is, in a second, I'm going to show all of the schools in the ACC and the Big 12 with a couple of other schools that are in either independent or in that kind of group of five range. And they are going to draft schools to bring into their conference. We don't have any criteria. They can make a case for basketball. They can make a case for proximity, rivalries, whatever they want to do. It's their choice. Now, for the normal people, we are going to do 6 picks for each conference. That's going to be like this is who I would take, this is who I want. And then after that, we're going to get into like the hands touch football at recess where like you're really like, I'm going to take this rock over, so-and-so. We'll get to that point as well. A couple of notes from the NFL draft, and I'll ask you guys if you have any takes on it. First of all, SEC and Big Ten had 26 of the first 32 picks, the entire first round. The SEC had 79 players taken. The Big Ten had 71. ACC had 42, and the Big 12 had 31. A lot of talent in the SEC and the Big Ten. It's how it's gone for a while. Jack, do you have any thoughts on the draft as a whole?
I mean, there's a lot to say on that too. One, when you look at the national championships coming from the SEC, the Big Ten, you see it all. But two, like transfer portal has done a huge impact on that. A lot of players are seeing, starting off the small schools, transferring to the big schools. So I feel like you're seeing a lot less of those, your Marshall players, your D3 kids who are at those schools getting drafted because they do transfer for the bigger payday. And I think one thing Casey and I agree is like the TV revenue that you get for the SEC and the Big Ten drastically improves your program. You rely less on boosters to do funding, so they actually get to do a lot of the NIL stuff as they're your boosters now. I think it does attract a lot of players. You see what we're putting out in the NFL every year, and a lot of kids nowadays they just want to win.
On that point, and Casey, I'll transfer it to your thoughts, but I do want to give you some props. There's been a lot of talk about college football and the fact that the schools that get the transfers are getting the credit for the person that's drafted. Now, Ryan Day actually just went on with Josh Pate, and they talked about this, and he said, absolutely, you can talk about Will Howard, who got drafted and came in from externally, but the majority of our team and the lion's share of our team were guys that have been here for a long time. And that is what the best programs that are going to put themselves in positions to win national championships are going to supplement out of the portal versus bringing a bunch of guys in. So I thought it was interesting that they used Ohio State as the poster boy for who brought in a bunch of guys that got drafted without talking about the guys who have been there for 3 or 4 years and ended up getting drafted.
Yeah. I think too, to Jack's point, like the biggest trend I think I'm seeing, and I don't remember obviously drafts when I was 3, 4 years old or even in the 90s, but I feel like GMs and teams are really putting an emphasis on a winning culture versus just a talented player on paper. I mean, Mel Kiper can tell me who can draft all he wants, right? But like, I think there's a reason that this Steelers continuously take Ohio State players. The Eagles continuously take Georgia players. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals are loaded up now with Ohio State players. So I think that it's always kind of been your minor league, right? But it truly is a minor league. I mean, it's just which farm team do you like? Hey, we love Ohio State. We love Michigan. We love Georgia. We love Alabama. That was kind of interesting. The fall off of Bama was a big conversation where they only had 7 players taken in the draft. But I do think there's something to be said about a winning culture. The Shadur Sanders thing was a whole different situation, obviously. But, take like, I don't know. I mean, I just think that obviously Will Howard went late, but I think they knew they wanted him the whole time. So I do think there's an emphasis now on more of a winning culture, even over, and I think they like the older players. I mean, with people coming out, so like with Will Howard, and that's why like I think the Browns like Dylan Gabriel so much is he's like 32 years old. I mean, they like some kind of maturity in that sense. And Ryan Day talks about it all the time in his press conference. He's like, look. It's like my daughter plays soccer, right? They play a ton of soccer games. You play a ton of lacrosse games. You play a ton of baseball games. Like these guys do not play a lot of 11-on-11 competitive football in their career ever at all. Like you can go 7-on-7, do whatever you want. It's not the same. So they're starting to like guys that have had multiple seasons under their belt because you take a guy who's redshirted, like a Trevor Lawrence, I don't know, redshirted, or he didn't redshirt, but like someone who redshirted and played 2 seasons and then came out, they played 22 games or 25 games. So I think there's an older culture and a winning culture that's being more shifted to the NFL versus just taking the young hotshot talent.
Perfect example is Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a perfect example. Bo Nix was a highly criticized pick by Denver. And you can say what you want about Sean Payton these last couple of years, but Bo Nix's ability to come in after taking so many snaps over the course of his career has really paid off. So that is what we have on the draft. I'm going to take a page out of my guy Pete B's book, see if I can do this correctly. Wow, there we go. This is the big board. So a couple of notes on this board that we have right here. So, and I did do this research. If I made a mistake here, please call me out. A color indicates that this team has been represented in the college football playoff or had a national championship berth since 1990. That is what that indicates. The asterisk means that they have a significant rivalry game against the SEC or Big Ten school. That means that they play an SEC or Big Ten school at the end of the year, or they have a built-in rivalry. And then lastly, the $sign means that they were top 25 in revenue, according to USA Today. And those numbers came from 2022 and 2023. So without further ado, since you two are such gentlemen, you did work out who was going to take the first pick. National championships get to pick first. Also, what is everybody drinking tonight? I am on Stella Artois this afternoon on this wonderful Thursday to kick off our May. What about
I
you
have
guys?
I have a natural light for the natural champions of Ohio State, soon to be back to back, which we can get in later. But I'm drinking a little natty light tonight to celebrate.
I'll have a classic city lager from campus
Oh
in
man,
right downtown Athens, Georgia.
there you go. I love the local love. Let's do it. Okay, Casey, you are officially on the clock. Your first pick off the board. What do you got?
Making it easy off the top here, this program has always belonged in the Big Ten. We all know the reasons they haven't been. Enough of the ACC stuff for this program, but Notre Dame belongs in the Big Ten. I'm going to take him here number one. Not even a current Power 4 school, but we all know they really are. They're coming to the Big Ten, and it's going to be a good addition.
Great pick. It's the obvious pick. Every conference would love to have Notre Dame in there. Jack, from a regional perspective, from a rivalry perspective, and I think most importantly, from a stylistic perspective, they fit the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you can shoehorn them into the SEC? Do you have any kind of argument here?
I do think they would fit in the SEC football wise. They do have a defense now. I mean, they've absolutely changed their program around. I would say when they had Brian Kelly, they wouldn't fit in, but we took Brian Kelly in the SEC to begin with. So I guess we take anyone from the Midwest, but just it does make sense in the Big Ten. Like all of their big rivals are there. The only argument I can think is back the historical rivalry with Georgia back in the '80s. Bama as argument, the argument of like who's the true blue blood historically, but that's really about all I can argue about for Notre Dame to the SEC. But it just fits so well in Big Ten.
They're also currently in the Big Ten for hockey, just saying. So like they're in multiple conferences for multiple sports already. So I mean, it makes too much sense.
Yeah, and their basketball team's down, so they don't fit in the SEC since we're a basketball conference now.
I love that you're a basketball conference. That makes me so happy.
Now, Jack, it's interesting. You mentioned coaches. So I'm curious as you might have shown your hand that you're doing a little bit of short-term thinking with current coaches and current product. So we'll see how it plays out. But you are on the clock, my friend.
This is tough. I have probably two teams I've been going back and forth with. I'm going to go with the one team I think is probably the most SEC ready, and that's Florida State. Their natural rivalry with Florida, I think, is great. I also hate Florida the most out of any team, so I just want more hate in Florida in my conference. So I'm a little biased on that one. They just fit geographically. They're in the middle, lively tailgate spirit. They just fit the Southern Conference. Their offense is a little upbeat, but so is Ole Miss, so I don't have any issue with it. I just think they just fit so well in with historic rivalries with Florida. They have historic rivalries with LSU, Auburn, Alabama. It just fits. They just fit in so well in the conference.
From a culture perspective, I certainly agree with you. What's interesting about Florida State is their waterline on the highs is so incredibly high, and then their water lines for the lows are so incredibly low.
Yeah.
Like the Willie Taggart situation was unbelievably bizarre. This last year that we just had at Florida State, unbelievably bizarre.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I keep coming back to as an ACC guy is them throwing that absolute crazy pity party that they threw 2 years ago before the season started. It was so childish. It was so silly. I remember I was literally sitting on the Zoom. I can't believe they made it public. I was sitting on the Zoom listening to it. But they are an interesting case in that they have been so successful in the past that here's a comp for you guys. Florida State right now is in a very similar situation to where Texas has been for the last 10 years.
Sure.
They have been hanging their hat.
Texas, Tennessee, Auburn. That's why they fit in so well. Like we have Florida too. Florida's had that kind of, coaching spree after Urban Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the three Florida schools combined have all had a carousel of like are any of them ever going to emerge themselves as the top, or is it always going to be a carousel of moving around? I mean,
and it's just wild because like watching Ohio State, Georgia poach the top kids out of Florida year in and year out. Those are some of the best talent comes from, and they can't retain it. It's wild.
Mm-hmm. So with pick number 3, the Big Ten is back on the board.
Yeah, this is where it gets fun because some of these schools I only want to take if I get in another school with it. right? Like there's a couple schools.
I have
where
a few of those too.
But the one that is not necessarily like that is that I do want the Big Ten. If we're going to be East Coast and West Coast, we might as well come down south a little bit too. And the only state down south that doesn't really belong down south is Florida. And with that, for that reason, I will take Miami. We want to have
Miami in the Big Ten.
We want to have some Southern aspect in the Big Ten. If we're going to go West Coast, we might as well come down south too. And eventually maybe move into the Northeast, probably. But Miami's probably the best fit for that because Florida is North Florida, Tallahassee, North Florida as well. The North Florida really is SEC country still, but South Florida, I mean, that's not really SEC. So, I mean, that's a good fit. That's a good fit, I think, for the Big Ten. You have a little bit of old history with Ohio State, Miami, 2002, 2003. That was fun. I think that they could be competitive in other sports, and it would make our baseball a little bit more fun, getting somewhere warm to go every now and then. We just have to fix that game day atmosphere in Miami. It's one of the biggest tragedies we have in college football is that there's just what I don't even know how to explain it. Like, get them a stadium, get them a better tailgate atmosphere. That'll even help them. I don't want to help them, but I mean, it will. So with that, I'm going to take Miami, and I'm not afraid to take Miami without the other two Florida schools because I think they're more of a standalone.
It's really interesting because the Big Ten, you would get, in my opinion, you would get more viewership from absorbing Miami than you all got with what you thought you would get by absorbing Rutgers and absorbing Maryland. Like,
for sure,
Miami is a brand where people, I actually think it's preposterous that the Big Ten viewed getting Rutgers as somehow securing the Northeast of college football fans.
Yeah, someone didn't do that. Someone didn't.
Someone just did a Google search of like what biggest markets are, and Rutgers fit in New York.
Biggest New York City market or a team. Yeah, it's Rutgers.
It's so Miami would definitely do that, and it's interesting, right? Because we all kind of looked at USC and we all kind of looked at Washington and we all kind of looked at these schools joining these different conferences. And we were like, man, how are they going to survive? Like USC having to go to Michigan in November, Washington having to go here, even though Washington's in a little bit of a colder area. But seeing Miami having to travel to Iowa in like October or travel to Nebraska in November would be pretty hilarious. So yeah, good pick. I like that pick.
I would watch that on TV just for the laughs.
Okay, coming back to you, Jack. Your second pick for the SEC. Where are we going?
Similar to the Big Ten, we're going to venture into a new state. I'm going with UNC. From the up and coming in football, we'll see what Bill does. Basketball, they don't fit in. Baseball, they have a great baseball program. The SEC has a great baseball culture, as well as it's one of the largest states that I have.
Okay. I'm not willing to just say they'll fit in. We are still the ACC. We had a bad year. They would immediately become your biggest brand. I mean,
and we have Kentucky. We have Kentucky. We have Kentucky.
Sure.
We have Kentucky. But I mean, they would still recruit well, but like I think they'll fit in so well, sports wise. It's a new state. North Carolina is a huge state. They have and UNC has a huge athletic budget. I think it's only going to go up. And just getting the SEC penetrating into the Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte market would be great, especially since the SEC network is headquartered in Charlotte. So we need a team in North Carolina to begin with.
Interesting. I have an observation, but I'm not going to bring it up until it becomes true on this.
Yep.
I like the North Carolina pick. I was curious to see how quickly North Carolina came off the board. Casey, you are up.
And just so you know, this is like my fantasy football draft every year. I have a solid plan going in, and something happens, and it blows it up in round 2, and then I finish, in sixth place. So I had UNC on my board as my second pick. And when Jack took Florida State, I needed to grab Miami, in my opinion. And now with that being said, now I'm crossing off my third pick. I will not be taking Duke, just so Jack knows. I can't take Duke without UNC. I was going to try to take a UNC-Duke combo there, and now that's gone. So I took a big market. I took a big brand. I do like a lot of this still. I want to grab some geographic locations still that play well to the Big Ten. And I'm probably wasting a pick here, but I'm going to do it just because I think they're such a good fit. I'm going to take West Virginia because West Virginia is – I know it's Appalachian, right? But it's right there in Big Ten country. You're so close to Penn State. That rivalry would pick up. the Maryland rivalry would pick up. Like they're obviously bordering a few, and maybe there's a future school I could grab that might make a good addition too. I don't know, but I've always my dream scenario was always to get Notre Dame and West Virginia in the Big Ten, and we opted for Maryland and Rutgers. So, but with that, I'm going to take West Virginia again. I don't know if Jack was even thinking that, but I went ahead and grabbed him for geographic.
No, I had them as one of my dark horses in the later rounds. I thought they would have been a fun fit. No, I agree.
Imagine Tennessee and West Virginia playing.
Tennessee, West Virginia playing in Bristol, or just playing in that kind of area would be spectacular.
Yeah.
So a couple of notes on West Virginia. First of all, Virginia Tech fans are probably very upset that West Virginia went before Virginia Tech. I actually have an opinion on this. I think West Virginia is a better geographical and culture fit for the Big Ten than Virginia Tech is now. I don't know if I would take them this high.
Yeah.
My other observation on West Virginia is that West Virginia, I know we don't care about this, but from an academia perspective, does not necessarily fit the mold of the Big Ten. No disrespect, Jack, whatsoever.
But I'm taken.
That is certainly an interesting move. Really,
what is Nebraska's academia situation? They're
somehow AAU, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
they haven't been cut out. They should be cut
out. Sorry to Nebraska. It was just a question. It wasn't a statement.
West Virginia, underrated basketball history, really, really good.
For sure.
Still trying to figure it out post Huggy Bear, but
Morgantown game day atmosphere. I've been about
cheat
4 or 5
code old
times.
school NCAA football with Pat White.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
see, and so that was a spectacular team to play.
Shout out to my uncles who still think that Rich Rod threw the game against Pitt on purpose. They think he threw the game, and
that backyard brawl was spectacular.
Just so you know, if West Virginia would have won that game, Ohio State would have another national championship. Florida would not even have been there. Wouldn't even been there.
Mm-hmm.
But just saying.
SEC, you're on the clock. Third pick.
Okay, this one, we're going to right some wrongs of the past. In 2011, 2012, we took the wrong team in the SEC. We took Missouri. Did not fit whatsoever. I still don't think they fit to this day. Sorry, Mizzou fans. You just don't. I'm taking Virginia Tech.
Ooh, okay.
All the homer pick.
So, explain yourself.
This is a little bit more recent, recency bias. I lost West Virginia with my Tennessee rival. Bring back, the Bristol game. I want the Tennessee Virginia Tech neutral game. Beamer, give me a Beamer Bowl every year would be interesting for the time being. I think Virginia Tech, just my experience was going to the game, they have the tailgate atmosphere for the game. I love the environment. I think they just fit in the SEC. I think they're SEC ready culture-wise. I think they will benefit a lot from the conference expansion. But I don't see them as a top player in the conference right away. Like Missouri made that impact, but I think they would be a good pick to have in the SEC.
Thrilled to be in the top 6 picks. I'm not sure how much of that has to be.
I had you at 14, bro. Just so you know.
Yeah.
I overreached.
Sure. I will say, from a environment perspective, I would put us up here with any one of these schools. Quite frankly, where you get into a little bit of trouble, in my opinion, is if you're looking to. You two have talked about geographical and television and securing land. It's not as easy as just saying if you get Virginia Tech, you're capturing Washington, D.C., Maryland, and the entire state of Virginia. As much as people may not like it, people do watch Virginia. People do watch Duke, North Carolina State. Yeah. That is kind of the challenge that all of those schools have, and Duke included, is they are all in this epicenter where people are all following them so closely, and you're competing with Clemson, and you're competing with South Carolina. So all of these schools are in this hub, and it's not like a Notre Dame situation or a West Virginia situation where if you just capture that one school, you capture this entire area. And that's kind of like, you plant your flag there and you're going to get a large share of it. So I will say Virginia Tech does really good in television ratings. They're going to pack out the stadium. They're going to have a good atmosphere. So I do appreciate the pick. Casey, any thoughts?
And selfishly, as a Georgia fan, it'd be a fun game to travel to every 4 years as well.
Certainly. So they need to figure out some pod system, though. This whole big conference,
I'd rather play every team twice instead of like Georgia's never played at Texas A&M to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jack's newbie on the pod. He was getting some kudos there for the host. Like, I'm not afraid not to take Virginia Tech. It's fine. But he blew he blew a pick early. It's fine. But that crosses 2 off the board because now I'm not taking Virginia. Just straight up, not doing it.
Maybe that's why I'm playing a little chess match over here.
So I think there's a pick I should be going to now, but with a little pre-draft intel over a few cocktails, I think Jack let it slip that I don't think he wants this school. So I'm going to wait and see what happens.
Yep.
I think I'm looking at 3 or 4 schools right now. And I think I'm going to take a pretty boring pick, but a pretty obvious pick. No explanation really needed. I think I'm just going to take Iowa State because at this point, they just belong in the Big Ten. I mean, they're kind of an outlier there in the Big 12, I'd say, with their partner Iowa being right there. You've got Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin. They're all right there. I mean, I think it'd be an obvious fit for Iowa State. And they're always fun. They're always kind of competitive in a lot of different sports. Be easy travel for a lot of people. And then making that rivalry game and a conference game, I think it makes a lot of sense. So I think I'm going to take Iowa State for that reason.
Iowa State is – I don't know of another school that over the course of my lifetime will get so much hype. In March Madness, it feels like you were filling out your bracket and they were a 2, 3, 4 seed every single year and they were getting bounced the first weekend. Every single year.
For sure. And it rolls into their coaching staff, I guess, too. Matt Campbell is linked to every single job ever that's ever posted. Like, for some reason, it's like, it's Matt Campbell. I mean, like, I don't think he's a bad coach. I just don't know what he's done to be like, Michigan job, got to be this guy. It's like, this job's open, it's got to be Matt Campbell. He was linked to the Ohio State job at one point before Ryan Day got the job. It was like, maybe Matt Campbell. I'm like, I don't get it. But, again, geographical, good enough donor-based facilities. It all makes sense, so I'm going to take them there.
And they usually pull off one sneaker of an upset a year too, so they do really fit in. Like they were the Purdue of the Big 12, where they had those amazing upsets over Texas, Oklahoma State back today. Those are great
for sure.
Jack, I'm just looking at this list. I can't believe you took us. I can't believe you took us.
There's some chess games we're playing here.
Okay, all right. Well, it's back on you here, brother.
Actually, going to fall in the same vein as Casey. I'm taking Oklahoma State. I want Bedlam back. That's really the only reason why I just want Bedlam.
It is so overwhelmingly disappointing that is not on the television now. Oklahoma State, really solid program, lots and lots of money, another really, really good fan base. They are in a very interesting spot with Coach Gundy right now. I don't know none of us know in our lifetime, really, of watching college football seriously, know what Oklahoma State looks like without Coach Gundy calling the plays, and who knows how much longer he'll be doing that there. But I think from a cultural perspective, really good pick. I like that pick. I
mean, they're one that ever since the transfer portal became really big, there are some teams that I think need to become dominant in the portal. Virginia Tech always being one of them. I've said, like, if you're like that, if there's 3 tiers, Virginia Tech's in that second tier, Oklahoma State's, West Virginia, like those teams need to dominate the portal until they become elite again. I think they need to I don't know what their portal stats look like. Maybe they've done well. I'm just saying, like, Oklahoma State, WVU, Virginia Tech, those teams just need to live in the portal every year.
I mean, think about it, especially this heyday is like the kids now recruiting up for or in 2007. They don't remember a lot of these heydays anymore. So they're kind of looking at the history of Alabama, Ohio State dominance.
I will say, it's actually both of you. I'm very surprised that in the first 6 picks, West Virginia and Virginia Tech are off the board. I'm not sure how many people, if we took a poll, would have that situation going. But
because I think
people a little biased on this podcast right here. But if you did a general poll, probably not.
I'm trying to look at this just from a culture fit of I'm not trying to lose too much of the Big Ten as well, right? Like there's certain schools I'm not taking. Like I even like my next pick might be. I'm torn between. I'll put it this way: I'm torn between a good geographical fit and just good for the conference. And I think what I'm going to do is go good for the conference, and I'm going to take. It's my pick, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take Kansas.
Oh my God, guys!
Oh, damn it!
What? Okay.
I'm going
to cross it off. I'm going to give my thoughts after, but sure. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, we're thinking about this from a basketball perspective, dude. Like, that's a blue blood basketball program into the Big Ten. the football program has had spurts of life. I'm sure that when you've got a good basketball program, I have to believe that with NIL, that like the donor money will find its way to football. Football is king at every school in the United States, minus like Villanova. I don't know. But if you're a blue blood basketball program, like, you know those Kentucky fans want their football team to be good so bad. Like, you know UNC football fans want to become good. I think that Kansas is a good – it's not like a bad geographical fit either. It's kind of right there. But I think it's good for the conference.
I wanted that pick because I wanted to bring back the Missouri-Kansas rivalry again. I was hoping they were going to fall a little bit. But.
Yes. I got to tell you, I've never thought of the Missouri-Kansas rivalry in my life, not one time.
I only do because when I went the few times I got to Missouri, that's the only rival they say they have. So I was just throwing a bone for the team that I don't think is SEC.
I don't mean to put on my Mel Kiper hat here, but I mean we
have a Shedeur Sanders situation coming up.
We have a Shedeur Sanders situation coming up here if this is not taken to the next.
I know what it is. I think I'm trying to Will Howard the situation. I think it's coming to us no matter what. I think I can.
Unfortunately, I think I'm actually going to take them right now. I wanted them to slip so bad. I wanted you to take them early so I can not have them. I'm taking Clemson.
Yeah, you got baited into it. He got baited. He didn't want it.
I don't
Tell us why, Jack. Tell us why.
It is the one outside of Mississippi. It's like the smallest population-wise. It adds 1/3 of the remaining of South Carolina as a fan base. Yeah, they're a powerhouse in football. They have a great basketball program, soccer, some Olympic sports. I just don't care about having 2 South Carolina teams in the conference. I don't think it does too much for us exposure-wise. I don't know. I don't see Clemson being as dominant as we were. I know Dabo's going into the portal now and doing everything, but it might be a little too late for portal Clemson.
It's interesting. And maybe it's just because if you're a Virginia Tech or ACC fan, you're like overanalyzing this all the time. It's interesting to hear you both approach this from purely a geographical perspective, because if you look at Clemson on face value, yes, they have won national championships before. They won national championships before Dabo Swinney. But your point makes sense. Clemson hasn't reached a point where they are a national team where like somebody from California grows up rooting for Clemson.
No, they're niche. They're a niche program.
They're also
they have 2 generational quarterbacks back to back too.
They're also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but I believe it's not a big brother, little brother situation like we have in the state of Virginia, but they're not the flagship program of the state of South Carolina. And South Carolina is not necessarily a hugely populated state. So it's a very interesting and different take on the entire situation than I guess what we're used to hearing.
I think the best comp would probably be like, it's kind of like the Georgia Tech of Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, like, I think Georgia Tech does have a legitimate fan base. Like, you don't hear a lot about them, but I think there are a lot of diehard Georgia Tech fans that have been quiet. But if they popped off a natty, I mean, you would hear about it.
I mean, and the only difference is Georgia Tech's in a major city, Clemson's in Clemson.
Yep. Interesting.
Greenville, South Carolina. They claim.
Clemson, just Auburn with the lake. And, I mean, brings back the Georgia-Clemson rivalry from the old days, so that's fine. I just don't like Clemson.
It's just Auburn with the lake is pretty.
That's it. They copied their Tigers because of Auburn brought their old jerseys over to Clemson. Their campus is modeled exactly after Auburn. The Tigers, their purple is because they had Auburn's old navy blue jerseys that faded in with purple.
I knew.
How much is that true? Probably 85%. That's an old lifestyle we tell on campus, and I believe it.
Jack filling us in on the Kansas-Missouri rivalry and how Clemson got their colors was not on my bingo board. Casey, the Big Ten is up.
Okay, I got 6 schools left in my top 20, so I got to ask: are we doing just 6 picks, or are we doing more?
We're gonna keep it
off, and then we do the rest.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I've got them. I got my final 6 bracketed, and if we're gonna keep going, I'm gonna start branching out, and I got a choice to make. Billy, heads or tails? Flip it in the air. Go. Pick it.
Tails.
I'm taking Arizona State.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just, I think that if we're going to branch into the West Coast, we're going to get California, we're going to get the Pac Northwest. The next logical state, I think, is Arizona from a fan base standpoint. I think you got Phoenix, which is a growing city, even though it's like the 5th biggest city in the United States. Great Ohio State fan base out there, which probably means there's Michigan. It probably means Notre Dame too. So I think that they would be a natural new fit to the Big Ten. Obviously, we need to get the sports up a little bit. I mean, I can take Arizona State's last season out of play. I think that was a little bit of an outlier. But they're a fun brand, fun scene. If we can get that tailgate scene up to be good too, I think they're a good fit.
I'll tell you what, I mean, any college football fan would love to have it every other year going down to Arizona and spending a weekend in Scottsdale. So I love that pick. I love that it's out of the blue here. I want to say this, and again, I'm trying to do a good job of not tipping the next pick, but I feel like you guys have your big board settled. The one area of the country that I think is up for grabs here is Colorado and Utah. And it's a little bit of an interesting situation because Colorado doesn't have a huge college football fan base. They have a huge skiing and, living in the clouds fan base.
Which you love, really. I'm telling you, two things that you love, dude. Skiing and living in the clouds. I mean, that's perfect.
So it's interesting. Like, to me, a school like Utah, a school like BYU, a school like Colorado is interesting to me when we get to this area. But I'm sorry. I know I'm not on the picking here, but
no, you're
SEC
fine.
are on the clock.
I have three teams I'm kind of waffling between. So Billy, pick 1, 2, 3.
2.
Going with UVA. You picked them, not me.
Okay. I'm actually pretty surprised they fell this low. And the reason
And
that
I have them for two reasons, which is good for me. One, I get the Commonwealth Cup in conference. I enjoy. And now the SEC is now the proud owner of the South's oldest rivalry and the Deep South's oldest rivalry.
Oh,
And the Deep South is older than the South, so by 182 days. So suck on that, UVA and UNC.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Charlottesville is a tremendous town. They have a tremendous basketball program. They have a ton of money. They really, if this were to happen, I hope it would be like a kick in the pants where you guys would haze them so much for how bad their game day atmosphere is that they would have to step it up. Because the problem with the ACC as a whole, if you look at this list, I'll just go down it. Boston College, Cal, Duke. I'm not going to throw Georgia Tech in here. North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Stanford, Virginia, Wake Forest. The overhead shots of these schools when they're playing football games are so tremendously embarrassing and damaging to the conference. It is one of the biggest black eyes that the ACC has. I think the ACC head-to-head has way better talent than the Big 12. But if you're just playing like the drone shot like of the stadiums or the tailgates, the Big 12 is winning in a cakewalk over the ACC.
Oh,
with
100%.
the amount of schools that have awesome environments versus
well, that's interesting. And I think it's because there's a state that both of us have neglected so far of Texas, which obviously eats, breathes, and sleeps football. But we're both kind of staying away from Texas right now. I don't know how long that'll last, but I think that even if your team is bad in Texas, you're going to show up. UNC and whatnot, to your point, if they're not good, there's no reason for them to go.
And they may not even show up if they're good, which is a whole nother situation. But Casey, you're on the clock, Big Ten.
I'll make it easy for time's sake on this one. I'll just grab Arizona now. They have them both. Dominate the state of Arizona. Elevate basketball. Definitely, it's a top tier program for basketball. And just get a good rivalry game without having them traveling super far. So I'll just grab them to make sure they're not lingering on me down the road, and I'll just lock that up.
There you go.
Next pick, I'm going to take NC State. Just give me a second. Big school in North Carolina, so I have them both. I think they're a great pick. I think of the North Carolina schools, they probably have the best tailgate and probably an environment.
Fact.
They're hungry. I think they would be fun. That's kind of why I picked them. And
I'm surprised they fell that late.
They're a sneaky dark horse team across all the
sports. But they're only good if you pair them with the other North Carolina schools. Like, it's hard to be standalone. Yeah. I think arguably more so than getting them with Duke, you almost need to get UNC and NC. I just think if you're going to have a football rivalry, it's probably better to have NC State and UNC be football rivals, right? Like, because Duke football just feels so – I know they had some good years. I don't know. It just feels so out of whack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's a
agree. I feel like
transition
NC
program.
State's really big rival is just UNC, so they're almost like a package deal.
And when I say transition program, I mean, Duke is probably not going to be in a situation that Arizona State is in right now, where you get a young, hungry coach who is excited to be at Arizona State. And who knows what Kevin Dillingham's going to do? I don't know. But I don't see Cutcliffe was such a unique situation where he was just a ball coach. I don't think it would have mattered where he went. He was just going to go there and buy a big house and coach ball. So
Right.
I like that pick. I think you got tremendous value on NC State this late. Case.
All that being said, this is where I'll take Duke, I think, from an academic Big Ten standpoint, to match them with Northwestern and to match them with the other schools that think they're Northwestern, like Michigan and whatnot. I don't understand. They think that they're in that caliber. But I mean, after this pick, I think I need to stop boosting our basketball. I think we've totally done what we need to do from a basketball standpoint with Iowa State, Kansas, Arizona. So I think I've locked up the basketball side of this. And then I can start going heavy back. But I just can't let them keep sitting there from a brand perspective, NIL perspective, national coverage perspective. I think they're fitting what the Big Ten's trying to do. Even though I can't get them with UNC, I still like them at this point at 8 for me.
There are two schools here that I am shocked am still on the board. They're next to each other on the list, and they're in the ACC, and they're in two large markets. And I'm just going to point that out.
Yeah, I'm taking one of them right now.
Okay.
It's Louisville.
Casey, you're on mute, but you got Louisville.
Okay. And I wanted – what's crazy is that was my 8th pick. So that's 16 picks basically so far. They were my 7 on the board. And I pulled away from them multiple times. I don't know why. It just happened. But I'm fine with that.
Yeah, good basketball rivalry. I mean, them and Kentucky just hate each other, so I think that's fun for me to have that rivalry in. So I'm content with that one.
One of the richest athletic departments in the country as well. I believe they are. I believe they're like top 5 or top 8 in terms of revenue generated. And they're a program that's been swept into scandal a couple of times when they were at their highest. It's another situation. It's like Florida State Junior, right? It's their waterline when they're good is so high, but their waterline when they're low is so low. So good pick.
I wouldn't go on the Bourbon Trail when I go to that game every 4 years.
Yes, for sure.
Well, I purely wanted them too, honestly, from a geographical standpoint, because I mean, I know it's Kentucky, but it's
so close to Ohio. It's right. It basically is Ohio.
Yep.
So just in case I lose another geographical pick, I've been looking at the board here. I think this is the last geographical pick that makes the most sense. Is I'm going to take Pitt and pair it with the WVU rivalry. And Pittsburgh is Midwest. In case people are confused about that, Pennsylvania should be 2 different states. You should cut it down the middle. Eastern Pennsylvania is Northeast. Western PA is Midwest. I'll take Pitt, pair that rivalry with WVU, and they also have some. I mean, again, that's good for Penn State. That's good for Maryland. That's good for even Ohio State for a travel. It's 2.5 hours from Ohio. So I think it makes sense to take them there. I just don't want to lose another geographical pick there.
Again, I love that pick. And you mentioned Maryland, but again, I just don't understand if it was presented to Pittsburgh or if it was even offered. Like, if I'm the Big Ten, I'm taking Pittsburgh over Maryland and Rutgers combined. Like, if I had that opportunity.
Yeah, people are going to hate this that I say this, and I don't have stats to back it up. The fan base in Pittsburgh is probably huge. Penn State, Ohio State split down the middle. There's a ton of Ohio State fans in Pittsburgh. Obviously, Penn State's big there, but it's kind of like your Georgia Tech, and your South Carolina, Clemson we're talking about. Like, in Pittsburgh, Penn State, I mean, trumps Pitt. So I don't think they were – but yeah, too close not to take for the Big Ten.
Jack, there's a too close to not take on the board right now.
I have to take them. I hate it. I hate them. They left the SEC. They were a founding member. It's Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I think this is tremendous value for you guys. I think breaking into the Atlanta, breaking in is unfair because you guys are already there with Georgia.
We're already there. Everyone's in Atlanta.
If you walk around Atlanta, you're going to see Georgia flags everywhere. It just makes too much sense to me for you guys not to have them.
Well,
And I think from a rising tide lifting all boats, you help their basketball program, you help their football program. And people think of Georgia Tech as being like this redheaded stepchild in terms of football. It's not that long ago that they were playing in the Orange Bowl. It's not that long ago that they were really,
well,
really
that's
good.
been vacated from cheating scandals, by the way. Just
Sure.
throwing that out there.
Well, they also should have ended Georgia's season last year, and they went to a 42 overtime game where it was these people were dropping dead from,
Yeah.
fatigue. So,
I actually do want to ask you this while we're on the subject. Can you just give me your really quick elevator pitch on what Miami fans can expect from Carson Beck? Now, he hasn't posted on social media since he went to Miami.
I know this is an issue, and his girlfriend broke up with him.
Yeah. He was on
I
Kai
mean, what's
Trump's
good for
vlog.
Miami is when he
there's
was
a lot
in
of stuff.
Athens, allegedly, he was going to Miami every other week, every other day with his private jet sponsor. So he's very familiar with Miami to begin with.
Mhm.
If you can get him motivated and actually throwing reps to wide receivers in practice and, taking coaching, I think he'll be great. I think he needed to change the scenery from Georgia. I don't think him and Kirby Smart meshed well together
Mhm.
at all. So I think the change of scenery is for him where the gunslinger mentality that Georgia really doesn't have, where running back first school and a defense first school. I think Miami is going to get a better Carson Beck than Georgia had.
What private jet company was flying Carson Beck to Miami? Is that
I
public
need to
record?
Google that one. I'm going to blame Casey on that one for trying to sabotage the University of
Pro-
Georgia.
it was probably like some company that just started yesterday to be Carson
Yeah.
Beck's personal. Probably, I don't know. Obviously, it's probably called like Beck Air. I don't know.
Beck Air. Casey, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I was looking at 3 different schools, and then I really just realized I think there's only one for me to take here, and you probably don't know who it is. Maybe you do. I'm gonna take Stanford.
Okay.
I think
Duke
to
and Stanford, Northwestern.
pop into the NorCal scene a little bit. Definitely taking them over Cal from every single aspect of it. Athletically, I'd say, athletically, academically, I think they fit actually pretty well. If we weren't already out there, I'd be like, why would I take a California school? But we're already out there. So I think we take Stanford right there.
Stanford's an interesting situation. It's a interesting trip if you are a visiting team. They have success in football before, maybe a unique situation with it being Jim Harbaugh. I don't know. But yeah, interesting pick. I can tell you guys are scraping the bottom of the barrel here. I also want to point out, you mentioned this earlier, Casey, you guys are both neglecting the state of Texas.
Yeah, I know. And because I don't think they fit with us. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't see any aspect of it that fits with us. I mean, I can start to order my Texas schools to see where I'd go just on the side here, and I'd be interested to see what I do. But I'm not going to take them until I have to, honestly.
Okay.
But Billy, I think you'll see also I'm also neglecting another part of the country at the same time that I hate.
I know.
So I have to
I don't
realize which
blame
way
either
I go.
one of you. Yeah, I don't blame either one of you for doing so.
One of us are getting stuck with both.
I know. Go for it, Jack.
We have enough of them already, but I have to go with Texas school just from her region.
It's like splitting hairs with these schools.
It is.
I mean, we're being disrespectful. There's good schools there.
We are being disrespectful. I have Texas and Texas A&M. I have the big two. So
So then I would say if I were you, I'd probably take the one school that has presented themselves for the past 15 years. That is the third school.
Yeah.
In football and in baseball.
I'm going to take SMU.
Oh my God.
That was not what I was thinking.
I
that
know.
would have
Show
been
me
my
the money,
last
though.
pick out of those.
Oh, that's crazy.
Wow.
Billy.
No, show me the money.
Baylor exists, Billy.
No, I'm saying that would have been my last pick out of the Texas schools left.
Yeah, I'm saying Baylor still exists, Billy.
That's true. I don't know. There was one that was just playing in the national championship just a few days ago that I probably would have taken in that spot. But
yeah.
Casey, you're up.
So SMU gone. Colorado.
Okay.
From again, kind of now bridging the gap between California and the Western Midwest schools. I've got Kansas. I've got Iowa State. We've got Nebraska. We touch Colorado. We might as well go for it. It has nothing to do with Dion, has nothing to do with Shadur. I think that it's a fun school. Boulder, super fun city, would be a fun trip to go to. I think that at this point, I think it's average enough in every department that it would fit well into the conference.
So let me ask you guys a question. There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Big 12 schools taken. There have been a lot more ACC schools taken. It's interesting to me. I think the ACC is really benefiting from that North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia regionality over some of the fan bases. Because if you look at it like what we have left, you know, you look at a Texas Tech, you look at a TCU, you even look at a UCF, a Utah. These are schools with big fan bases, but I don't think they even come close to the cachet that you would get from a North Carolina State, a Miami, Louisville. It's really interesting how this is boiled down from a who you want to take perspective.
But to this point, I do think that the Texas schools should all run off the board before any other schools now.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it just speaks to, and this will piss some people from the West off, the further west you go, the less people care about football. That's just
more things reality.
To do. I was going to say, though, Jack, you got to carve out west in the lower south part of the United States. So once you get into mountain time, the interest level really kind of falls off the table. So, Jack, here's your pick.
No, I'm going to take Houston.
Okay. Like that pick. Houston.
Not a bad basketball program. Could do something football, nothing flashy, but I think it's a good market to have. Even though I think most of the people from Houston, don't quote me on this, are A&M fans more than Houston fans. I think that's A&M's big kind of areas in Houston. So bring back that kind of local rivalry.
One of my least favorite cities in the country.
Yeah, it's not a fun city. I really don't want to travel there.
No disrespect to James Harden or anything, but
Billy, what is the purple highlight again?
The purple. I just highlighted them in purple because they claimed the national championship, so it was like a Mickey Mouse championship. Yeah, I'm sorry if that threw you off, but that's why I highlighted them in purple.
I'm gonna take a Texas school that I think in the last 15 years has elevated themselves to be the third best school in football, which is TCU.
Mm-hmm.
And no one has mentioned baseball in this conversation, but I think they elevate maybe I mentioned baseball for Miami, but I think TCU baseball also elevates us a little bit too. I think that they're a good fit here at this pick at my 12th school.
I like that take. And also, I think TCU has done a very good job remaining relevant. They were in a similar situation that Oklahoma State is in right now, where Gary Patterson leaves, and you're like, okay, what direction is TCU going to go in? And they've remained relevant. Played in the college football semifinal, played in the college football final. So hats off to them. Next pick, Jack.
I'll take the Red Raiders of Texas.
I was going to take them next.
Yes, Texas came off the list really quickly.
It's a bull rush on Texas schools right now.
We're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and there's a school on here. It's probably not coming up next, but there's a school on here that I know Casey's not going to be able to resist taking. We'll see.
Oh, well, you know what? Actually, I don't know if this is what you were thinking, but I see one on here that I kind of crossed off early. I don't know if we're picking the whole board. I will take Kansas State at this point because
it wasn't who I was thinking. But
because I have Kansas, so I might as well take the natural rivalry with both of them doing. They still, I think, fit the mold. But I crossed them off on
the Little Apple too.
There you go, little Manhattan, Kansas.
Good pick, Manhattan, Kansas. I've been there. Fun town, really fun town. Jack.
Who am I going to not resist taking? I don't want any of these schools.
Maybe Mickey Mouse. I'm going to go UCF.
You're going to go Mickey Mouse. UCF.
Go Mickey Mouse.
I don't hate that pick. UCF has a tremendous, they're kind of like Liberty. They're out here printing diplomas for everybody. So they have a huge alumni base. Get in that Orlando area. Got to tell you, Orlando, not really for your boy. Not sure I would prioritize that on the away travel list.
It's a watch at home trip.
Maybe with the kids. Like if the kids are like 5 to 7, take them down there.
Or Universal or something, yeah.
So
There's two schools that I think will forever be kind of paired together because I think they joined the Power 5-4 conferences together at the wrong time. So if you're taking UCF, I'll take Cincinnati, but both of those schools sneaking into a Power conference at a weird time. Like they were both playing. I mean, Cincinnati playoff could have went to the playoffs twice with Fickle, but do I think they're a Power 5 school? No, but they are, and so geographically. And right after Jack's UCF pick, I'll just take Cincinnati off the board.
Solid basketball program. I think it's a little bit of an underrated basketball play if you wanna spin it that way. But again, you're gonna have a hard time selling any one of these schools.
Look, it's weird. I think Cincinnati's. It's almost like, it's like a max school playing at Power 4 levels every now and then, and so they've elevated themselves enough to go past that group of 5, but really not into that Power 5, Power 4.
I want to ask you guys a question because I want to ask this while some of these schools are still on the board. You talk about television ratings. You talk about how many people are tuning into these games. I'm curious, and I want y'all to give me your thoughts on this. I'm not trying to influence your next pick. I really just want to know what you think. I'm looking at Boston College. I'm looking at Cal. I'm looking at Syracuse, and I'm looking at Wake. Is there any world where an Army or a Navy is more interesting to you than either one of those schools?
No.
Okay.
Not to me. And I don't know how to say this without being...
No disrespect to the troops at all.
Yeah, there's zero disrespect to the troops. The Army, Navy, Air Force thing has always felt almost a little gimmicky to me. It's like, we know what they are. That game is incredible. I like when they come to Ohio State because the news lines always like, do we boo Navy when they run out? You don't know what to do, right? So, it's fun. And they always run fun offenses, but I'd have zero interest in any of those three before I take those.
I really wish that they could live in I wish that you could pod them up and you could have them like a traveling road show that would just descend upon a conference. Oh man, the Army, Navy, Air Force group, they just descended upon the Big 12 this year. The Big 12 has to play those schools. Oh, they're in the SEC.
They're the Savannah Bananas of college football.
Yeah, they're just dropping in on these different conferences. I actually think that would be pretty fun. And to be fair, the style of play that they play is difficult to prepare for. They've given Notre Dame fits. If you ask a Notre Dame fan about playing Navy every year, they win the game, but they have
given Ohio State fits multiple times where I'm like, can we stop scheduling the armed forces? It does us no good.
I actually think I think that would be so cool if you took those 3 schools and you potted them up and you were like, you're going to be on a rotational basis of going to these different conferences and just wreaking havoc on these different conferences. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I mean, yeah, when Tech ran the triple option before, Georgia had to practice a triple option every week just because you have to. You have to have that discipline on defense for that.
Jack, you're up, right?
Yeah, I hate splitting them up, but I'm running out of schools in my region that I want to keep the Southeastern Conference true. So
whatever that means. Yes, the Southeastern Conference
exactly.
that has, okay.
So give me the green TCU. I'll take Baylor.
Okay. Good value on getting Baylor this late.
They're more SEC than Big Ten. It's fine.
Yeah, they're there. They're
a lot of Christians.
How many the SEC?
How many schools do we have left?
1, 2, 3, 4,
6,
5, 6.
Okay. This is getting hard.
It's tough, dude. It's tough. Who's ending up with Cal?
Well, I almost want to take Cal. I almost want to take Cal because I took Stanford. So it wouldn't be bad for us to have a real run on the. Actually, I will take
Cal
because then we have all of California.
Yeah.
So I'll take Cal. That's fine.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Man, you guys hate Utah. I get it.
Utah's fine.
Fine, I've been out there.
Jack.
There's just a vanity pick to save my marriage. I'm taking Wake Forest. I can't let them be the last pick or get stuck with them. My wife would kill me.
Abby said one thing before. She's like, "You better take Wake Forest in this draft."
Yeah, she said she was arguing there should be a 3rd round pick. No.
So you guys are gonna have Wake and Vandy in your conference?
We have to have some nerds. Calm down.
I mean, that's tough. That's a tough situation.
Oh, you
I'll tell you
need
what.
a cupcake every so often.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC has some built-in cupcakes. We just don't talk about them. Arkansas has been a cupcake for 10 years, but nobody wants to say that.
Yeah, Mississippi State's big powerhouse. Multiple national championships.
I'm such an SEC Jack. I got to tell you, I'm such an SEC homer that I got to give some flack so that
I think you enjoy the SEC more than I do. I hate everyone in the SEC except my team.
I've leveled Billy out a little bit.
He has. He's brought me back to
the only team in the SEC I don't hate is LSU, just because half my family went there.
Yeah, your name wouldn't be good hating LSU.
Yeah.
What do you got, Case?
You did not influence me, Billy, at this point. I do think Utah is more of a natural Big Ten over SEC fit. So at this point, I'm like, what school can I not let go to the SEC? I wouldn't like Utah going to the SEC, so I'm going to keep them in the Big Ten.
It's just it's shocking to me that Utah went after Cal and Utah went after Wake. And
But
Utah
I mean,
went
I'm
after
going to take
UCF.
if I'm going to take California, I'm going to take the whole state of California, and I can't
Yeah.
take the one school that has the name California. I mean, so I didn't want to take them. I don't want to take a lot of these schools at this point, but we're doing it, so I might as well round it out.
It's so funny. I wish we could have the commissioners sit down and do this because it's such an interesting way that you guys are looking at this. Jack.
Yeah, I'm just Googling which is the shortest drive from the University of Georgia. Because that's really deciding my next pick. So I guess I'm going Syracuse.
That's the shortest drive.
Shortest drive. I'm just thinking of the college kids who have to road trip this game.
That'll help you in the basketball though too.
Help us in basketball. 13 and a half hours is not that bad of a drive. We've all done that.
Well, Casey, you are left between Boston College and Brigham Young. Or you could go South Florida, Memphis, Tulane, UTSA. I mean,
Billy, I'll give you. Who do you think I'm taking here between BYU and Boston College? Write it down. Take a picture. Send it to him. I'm taking Brigham Young over everything in Boston, dude. Boston does not belong in the Big Ten. BYU. I took Utah. I took Colorado. We kind of got that area locked up, and I got Arizona. I mean, so like we got Arizona, Utah. Colorado, we're all right in there.
I do just want to counter with this. Boston College has ran a Big Ten style offense for a long time. They put a lot of running backs in the NFL. They put a lot of linemen in the NFL. They put a lot of linebackers in the NFL.
If I hear any of those Boston accents preaching for the Big Ten, I'm going to lose my mind. I don't want them. I don't want them. That means,
Jack, you are rounded off with Boston College.
God, let's go. Jack got Wake Forest, Syracuse, and Boston College. Heck yeah, dude.
Okay,
do you guys?
I'll take you and I'll take my top half instead.
Do you guys have any schools outside of the ACC and Big 12 that are interesting to you at all?
They got to just be a big enough brand. Like I like that you mentioned Memphis. Like that's a big enough brand. I think that could do something.
Oregon State, who got kind of screwed over by the Pac-12 exploding.
Yeah, and then Washington State.
Washington State.
Both of those together. They'll just come together.
Mm-hmm.
But no, not really. I mean, like I think the brand's got to be big enough to be interesting. Just trying to think if I'm missing anybody. But no, I mean, I think the ones that everyone's had a chance to get into the Power Four that deserves it at this point. So I think they've made their way in. But no, I think I'm good with my list.
Gentlemen, this has been awesome. Couple of observations just from the top. Here are the top 6 picks for each school. SEC took Florida State, or here's how they went in order. Florida State, here's how they went in order. Notre Dame, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, West Virginia, Virginia Tech. The third round was just off the rails. And then Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, Clemson, Arizona State, and Virginia. Going to be interesting to see how it rounds out. This is we just ate up an hour and 9 minutes of off-season content. So that was great. Gentlemen, any last words? Oh, I did give you guys this assignment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Outsider perspective, Virginia Tech. How do we feel about it? And then also your perspective of your team, going into the season? Well, Jack, we'll go with you first.
So you want to hear?
Jack will be nicer to the fan base than I will.
Yeah.
So I was kind of mapping this out, looking at the schedule. I think Virginia Tech goes 7-5 and splits conference. I see them losing in South Carolina week 1. I think South Carolina is really good. North South is good. They have a great defense. I think you get your revenge against Vanderbilt. You beat ODU. You beat Wofford. I have NC State winning the first conference game. You beat Wake, or basically known as Washington State at this point, since they took all of Washington State's players. Tech is going to be good this year. Haynes Keynes is the real deal. You beat Cal, and I think you win one between Louisville, Florida State, and Miami. You beat UVA, and I think that's how I view the conference, your schedule this year. It's going to be interesting if you increase your offensive identity. I think last year it was kind of how Georgia ran it. It was very vanilla, basic. I'm not saying you guess the play call from the stands, but you kind of read the situation, what they were running. And the offensive line, either the scheme wasn't there or something from the coaching just wasn't making the adjustments in the third and fourth quarter that was needed. So I think hopefully that changes. The team gets motivated to play around, and you kind of perform. Can perform better in the back half. But I think after the Miami game, it felt like it'll deflate afterwards.
That was already not very encouraging, and I know.
Sorry.
I know that this Midwest love is not going to be a whole lot better.
If you are a diehard Virginia Tech fan this year, it's a great season for fall weddings. I would encourage all of your friends, if they want to get married in the fall, this is the year to do it. I've gone through the schedule with Billy. I've gone through it with Bryce. I've gone through it with Pat. And every time it came out at 5-7. So I think, unfortunately, you're going 5-7. You're missing a bowl, which I think is actually the best thing that's going to happen to your program, because ever since I've came into this Virginia Tech arena, your coach is not the guy. He's just not the guy. He's got to get out of here in order for y'all to elevate to the point where you need to be. Now, what I'll say, too, is I do want to kind of talk to a portion of your fan base who feels like they're not competitive because of NIL and because of certain aspects. Billy, I will ask you this question. Like, where do you think over the past 20 years Virginia Tech ranks in the top? Like, are they 15, 16, 22? Where are they? Are they like the top?
In the past, let's do
2000.
the cutoff. Let's do the cutoff at 2000. The problem is the first 10 years are tremendous, and the last 10 years are not good.
Are they in top 30? Is it in top 30?
They're right at 30.
Okay, let's call them 30.
Mm-hmm.
College football is so much like the MLB right now, where if you are the worst program in the MLB, your fan base doesn't expect you to just pack it in and say, we can't compete ever with the Yankees and Dodgers. You expect them to farm. You expect them to bring players up from the minor leagues. Like, Virginia Tech, yes, is lower on that totem pole, but like me as a Reds fan, I'm not like, well, we can never compete with the Yankees and Dodgers because we don't have enough money. Like, that's not the attitude of the MLB fan bases. So you just can't let that become if you guys were like a 60 program, okay, you're kind of toast. But you're in the arena that, like, you still should be able to compete for the playoffs every 5 years, every 4 years. You have to dominate the portal. So you have to get a guy at the helm that gets the portal players to want to come to Virginia Tech until you get back to the point where you can be a recruiting program. So I just think your current leader is just not the guy that's going to get you there.
So I love outside perspective. I will say the biggest situation, if it's 5-7, that's going to be what happens. And I think everybody completely understands that. The other thing that I'll say is I think Virginia Tech, looking at it purely from, are we bringing in talented players from the transfer portal? I would say the answer to that question is yes. The problem is those players have not performed to the I don't want to say performed, because we just put a bunch of guys into the draft.
Yeah.
So you're bringing in talented players, and for whatever reason, they are not performing to the level that you would expect when you're bringing in this much talent.
And it could just be a scheming thing. I think you're bringing in talented players, but you're not either playing them right, or the offense is just not baked to score, or efficient to run it the right way.
Yeah, Billy, break that down. Billy, you said they're bringing in talent and they're not performing. Maybe it's coaching.
Yeah. And it's such a weird place to be in as a fan, where you're at a position where if you sit down and you're like, okay, we need to win this many games, and then we'll just roll the dice again. We're not even in a position where we're like, okay, if we win this many games, like, I know we're headed in the right direction. We're now in a place of like, we need to win this many games to know that we'll do it again next year. And that's never a position that you want to be in. It just seems like treading water for such a continuous period of time. Yeah. And on the NIL point, I want to say this too. I think there's this misconception that Virginia Tech is like this, begging on the streets for
that's what I'm saying.
Money, like some of these other programs are. Like, I don't think that that's the position that Virginia Tech is in, and the proof would be in the talent that we're bringing in the door. So it's a tough position to be in. But 5 and 7, I think everybody would agree that this.
But look, 5 years goes pretty. 5 years goes pretty quick, and in 5 years. In 5 years from now, if y'all are 10-2 and you're competing for playoffs, like, you'll be ecstatic. But like, I know that 5 years is long, and look, I'm coming from a place of privilege. Me and Jack both, I get it. Yeah. But Jack went through a lot of years where his teams were supposed to be good and they weren't. I mean, right? Mm-hmm. So like, you're not going to be able to go 10-2 next year. It's not going to happen, or the year after that. You have to start.
It's incremental process. It's incremental progress.
It's when a baseball team finally wins a World Series with their farm guys. They get one World Series, then they all get signed somewhere else. Like, that's what Virginia Tech's going to be. It's like, we got to farm up 5 years at a time, have a good season every 5 years. Like, if in 30 years you had 3 great seasons where you went to the national championship or played in the playoff, you'd probably be happy. I mean, so you got to get to that point.
I completely agree with you. Last thing that I'll say on Virginia Tech before asking you about your teams and letting y'all go, it just sucks being in a position where the outlook is so negative and the headlines of college football as a whole are so negative. Like, the combination of we're not competing at the highest level right now, and the sport in general is trending in a direction that you don't like. Like, Casey, we talk about it, like how unhealthy a lot the college football is, and I love it. I'm a college football junkie, but it's much easier when you're like, yeah, the sport's unhealthy. We're also going to go out and kick everybody's ass this year. So that sport can be as unhealthy as we want it to be.
I think, on that point, what's scary for you guys is, like, you're a passionate fan base that expects to be good, and you're spending a lot of time complaining, which I get it. But there's going to be other programs that surpass you because they're in a more positive place, because they're not expecting to win right now. Like, take like a Syracuse. Like, a Syracuse in your conference is kind of scary right now. Like, that's not a football program at all, but like, they might start winning some games.
Fran Brown did a great job.
Yes, he did.
They're happy to be there. There's a lot of upside in that. I just think the emotion around the fan base does matter. I mean, like,
100%.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you look at the ACC in general. You mentioned Syracuse. You can mention SMU. SMU comes in the ACC and everyone's like, okay, they lost to Boston College in the Wasabi Bowl, and they're playing the ACC championship that fall. So
one of your too. These are kids. The passion comes from the students on campus. You have the hype on campus. I feel like that gets the players juiced up a little bit more to do that extra level.
Oh, we definitely check the hype. We definitely check the atmosphere and hype box. I mean, the people are in the stands.
But when you start getting depressed, on campus, everyone kind of the players feed off that energy too.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have expectations. It's bad to have expectations with also a feeling of impending doom. Jack, expectations for Georgia.
I believe in Gunner. I think Gunner's great. I think,
great.
Great sort of hard. I think he's. I'm going to say he's going to be a top 35 quarterback, which I think is sufficient for Georgia. I mean, Stetson Bennett was good.
I can't help myself, and I will not interrupt you the rest of the time. It drives me crazy that coming into the season every single year, and Casey, I'll make sure that I have a gripe for you because I've been going hard at Jack here. It drives me crazy that if you are a starting quarterback in the SEC, you are automatically one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Like, every single year, if you start for an SEC school, you are a Heisman.
Yeah, look at the Heisman odds. Yeah, the odds are like it's like every single SEC quarterback's like, well, he's like top 12 for like Heisman.
So, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah, but I don't need Gunnar to have a Heisman season because, like, I'm looking at he's more like a Stetson Bennett than a Carson Beck. I'm
Okay.
expecting more of the game manager, team leader, not forcing the ball kind of gameplay out of him. The issue is against Notre Dame. He had 3 weeks to learn the whole offense.
Yeah.
Coming in. And Notre Dame's a good team. I'm not taking anything away from them on that one. Great defense. They schemed it well. They stopped us. Point blank, they beat us. But I think Gunnar having the offseason, getting the reps in. We brought up some talent on the wide receiver side as well. So I think that's going to open it up. My biggest concern is our offensive line. We're starting a whole new line next year. Our whole line left, I think 4 of the 5 got drafted. So I'm concerned about our line. I think Gunnar needs the time. He can't be rushed in the pocket because I think he does need he has a long windup. He needs a little bit more time to get the ball out and do some more reads. I think he's faster than Carson Beck and does more than just a check down. But I am a little concerned our offensive line holding us back. Defense is going to be interesting. I think our defensive line is going to be good. I don't think we have the edge pass rush that we usually see out of Georgia to get that QB pressure. So we're going to rely a lot more on our cornerbacks and safeties. So I'm a little concerned about that. But I think we're a playoff team. I don't see us winning the SEC championship this year. I think this is Texas's year. I'm not saying I'm an Arch truther. I think they have just so much talent around Arch that Arch can be mediocre and do really well. So that's kind of my view. I think we are probably third in the SEC this year.
Who's second though?
I don't know. I think we lose to Florida.
SEC's trash this year, dude. They're trash. They're down. You'll probably become second just because there's no one else.
Yeah, Tennessee's not. I don't think Tennessee's going to be that great. I don't think Nico was that good, but that's another conversation for later.
I mean, you got 3 guys on here that'll believe that are with you on that 100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I think we're a playoff team this year, and then we kind of gear up, and then following year is kind of our better year.
I mean, it's interesting.
This is a down year for us, and we're making the playoffs.
It's so interesting that you go from, you're competing for a national title if you're perfect to now you have an opportunity you're obviously trying to win every single game, but you have the opportunity to lose a game or 2 and then improve your team and peak when you get to the playoff. So anyway, with that, I'll pass it to Casey.
Yeah, I mean, look, fun year for us going in, a little bit less pressure than last year. Everyone always asks me, like, were you so happy when you won the Natty? I was like, honestly, it was more relief than euphoria. If you went back to back, that'd be euphoric. The interesting point on Ohio State this year is, and maybe I'm wrong, I used ChatGPT to help me with this answer, but like, I don't know how many seasons there's been since 2000, which is kind of my benchmark. We have the best offensive player in the country in Jeremiah Smith. I don't think anyone would argue that. We also have the best defensive player in the country with Caleb Downs, which people kind of stopped talking about him for a minute because that team was so loaded. But according to ChatGPT, there's been 3 times that the consensus number 1 player on both sides of the ball played on the same team. It was actually 06 Ohio State with Troy Smith, who won the Heisman that year. And then I think they said James Laurinaitis, who's on the staff now. They lost in the Natty that year. Auburn 2010 with Cam Newton. And I don't know who they said was on the other side of the ball there.
Probably Derek Brown.
Maybe. They won the Natty. And then the other time was Jadeveon Clowney with South Carolina. They went 10-2. I mean, that's a good season for South Carolina. So I think we've got the best player on both sides of the ball. Defensive line is the question mark at the moment because every single defensive lineman got drafted from Ohio State this year. And then quarterback. I mean, we all know who it's going to be. It's going to be Julian Sand. I think, Day is keeping it tight to the vest.
Why is he lying about it?
Because he didn't want them to go into the portal. I mean, the portal closed, and he's got a backup quarterback now. And I think he wants to keep. Look, what are you gonna name Julian Sand the starter? Piss off Lincoln Keenholz, and then Julian Sand tears his ACL, and they're like, Lincoln, you're a guy. I mean, so I think you want to keep it competitive. This is a young team. To Ryan Day's point, that has not played a ton of football. He wants it to be a very competitive summer. Like he wants them to go at it. So unless Julian really, really takes a step back, it's going to be him. But just so you know, we have our 3rd running back is going to be Bo Jackson. So that'll be fun to listen to when he gets into the game. James People, our number 1 running back, has waited in the wings here for a couple of years behind Judkins and Henderson, of course. So he's going to be the feature back. We brought in CJ from West Virginia, who's going to be a good bruising back to complement him. Wide receiving crew is arguably the best it's ever been at Ohio State, which is crazy to say. I expect another title run, but I think it'll be a looser title run unless our quarterback just really can't rise to the occasion and just gets overwhelmed. And I mean, he's kind of short, so I don't know what that always relates to in college football, but there's just no team that's sticking out as like a true fire number one. And if it's Texas, then that's fine. We'll see week 1 we play them in Columbus, so that'll be fun.
Let me ask you, and you knew that you had to know this question was coming. And it has to be such an annoying question. Going into the season, like how much are you thinking about Michigan? Like, I mean,
I think it's number one. I think it's number 1 goal this season, because he's got his title.
That buys a lot of time.
He wins that game this year. I could start spitting off facts about the record again since 2000. Yeah. Like it's a lopsided record since 2000. All they can talk about is the last couple of years, which they have the right to do. I mean, like, but I think it's literally priority number 1, because I think he could take a huge, and him by Ryan Day, he could take a huge step back this year and lose 4 games, and he could blame Julian Sand being young. He could blame, but if he wins that game, you give us
Michigan. Yeah.
You give us a title, and then you give us a back on top against Michigan. I think he's getting a statue built in Columbus in 30 years. I mean, I think it'll be fine.
Awesome. Gentlemen, this was fun. I really appreciate you going the distance with all these schools. I'm surprised we got them all
real
down
quick too, Billy, Jack, I think we discussed, but I think there might be a cocktail party in our future this year. I think we got a couple of good, I think Jack might have a good setup. Billy, I got us a free place to stay in Jacksonville, Billy, with my aunt and uncle. So it might be a little fun road trip for the crew.
I think we got to do it because it's the last year for a few years since they're doing demos or renovation of the stadium.
And you guys have this bullshit where you moved the Georgia Tech game out of Bobby Dodd, which is
we didn't move it out. Tech did.
I'm not saying you guys. I'm saying the Royals.
So offensive.
The issue is when I think they gave Tech like $2 million to host the game.
I mean, I probably would have moved it too.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Appreciate your time, and as always, we'll run this back sometime soon. Jack, get the brainstorm board out and figure out what our next pod is. Yeah,
are we gonna start talking about like what's the big off-season games, like topics, like what serials each coach?
A big game draft.
What are your dream week 1 matchups?
All right, I'll pull it up.
No, I'm saying fantasy-wise. If these 2 teams could play for this reason in week 1, what would it be?
Like
an Army Navy week 0 in on a aircraft carrier.
I mean, I've said this before. I wish that we could.
Michigan State UNC that basketball game.
I wish that we could just take bowl games and roll them over to the next year instead of watching this garbage football that we see with some of these games. Like, I think it would be cool to start the season off with Miami and Iowa State in week 0. Like, that would be pretty cool.
I would rather spring games be like those kind of games.
Yeah, it'd be weird though with the they need to get rid of the spring transfer portal window, because it'd be weird to be like, here's one
with
game
a lot
and
of
these guys are transfer.
There's a lot of problems in college football. The biggest one, I don't think I have a fix for it. It's the bowl game thing. I don't know how to get those exciting again, man. Like it's gone. It might be gone forever. And it's just
I think that magic's gone.
It's gone forever.
Like the excuse was before, like, oh, they're doing it for free, they get hurt. They're getting paid and they don't want to do it. Like the magic's gone.
Who knows?
You have a quarterback who's going to opt out of the playoff game.
Yeah,
that was preposterous. Until I'm not going to say until it happens.
Allegedly, let's say allegedly on that one.
Yeah.
All right, real quick though. 1, 2, 3. Who wins the national championship this year? Ready, go, Billy.
Who wins the national championship this year? I'm going to go Texas. I think it's the easy pick. I don't want them to win the national championship, but I will go Texas. I think they have a tremendous quarterback. I think Sark. I hate saying that he has to win it, because I thought that was, I think in so many cases that's unfair, because winning a national championship is so tremendously difficult to do. But it seems like one of those situations where, like, we're talking about you like you're, a legend. Like, it's time for you to win a national championship. So
I agree.
I will go with Texas, because I feel like he's in a similar situation that Ryan Day is in last year.
I agree. I think he's under the most pressure of the big name coaches to win it. It's kind of like the big thing that's left for him. I don't know if I trust Arch being able to lead them to that way. I know they have a lot of talent around them. Unfortunately, I think it's Ohio State. I think they have more talent. They have more talent around a question mark of a quarterback.
That would be how many years in a row with an SEC team not winning the national championship?
3. And I think that's going to happen because my pick. I'm not going to take Ohio State to be fun. I think it's going to be Oregon because I think you have a pissed off Dan Lanning and more mature Dan Lanning. Dude, their quarterback started for UCLA as a freshman, and then he sat behind Dylan Gabriel. No one's talking about him. Mm-hmm. And then real quick point on Sark. You know who the most happy person in the world is that Sark currently exists is probably James Franklin. Because if it wasn't for Sarkisian this season, like, what is James Franklin at Penn State? I mean, like, this dude just got bought another year because, like, the more important coach is Sark. But, dude, if James Franklin doesn't do anything crazy this year, like, he's got probably the best-looking NFL pro quarterback on the staff in Drew Allard. So if they don't do something crazy this year too, he just needs to be talked about.
That's like, a good point too. I mean, what is Penn? If you're a Penn State fan, they're kind of in that vortex in a better situation than we are, but they're like, okay, like how many games do we have to win to roll the dice again next year? Like,
I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. This literally is their year because there's not an elite team like Ohio State. It's like Ohio State's going to win it all. Like sure, Texas, but they have Arch Manning who hasn't played a starting quarterback role for a season. This is literally your year to steal one if you're Penn State. Yeah. Like you kind of need to sneak in and steal it.
You're going to need Ohio State and Oregon to beat each other up, and you just sneak right in.
Yeah. But here's the problem, though. Like you can still make it in if Oregon and Ohio State get the top seeds. Like it doesn't really
exactly. I mean, it's going to be interesting how it crumbles at the end of the playoff, like who you actually play too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gentlemen. I know Hannah's probably got dinner ready. Jack, you probably got dinner ready. I got dinner ready. I'll talk to you guys later. Good stuff today, guys.
See you, boys.